because my identity as the fake heir of the Ito family was exposed. The entire city made a mockery of me. My father kicked me out. And the true heir took everything I had worked so hard for. Even my fiancée became his woman, she said. The person I've always wanted to marry is Makoto. You're just a dog without a home. Not worthy of me. What everyone didn't know, however, was that after their public engagement party, I had actually found my real biological parents. My name is George. I am the only son of the richest man in the South Province, from the Wang family. Chapter 1. I had spent over 20 years living in the Ito household, only to be told that I was merely an adopted son. When the true heir of the Ito family was found, the whole city was in an uproar. Everyone knew that I had become a kicked-out stray dog, cast aside with nothing left. Not only that, my fiancée also cut off contact with me. It had been a whole week without any word from her. In a panic, I searched the whole city, but I couldn't find her. Then someone sent me a location, asking me to meet them at a bar in the city center. Standing outside the private room, I saw my fiancée, Willow, snuggled up in the arms of a man, her eyes soft and full of affection. She said, "Makoto, we were torn apart before, but now that you've returned to the Ito family, we can pick up where we left off." The man chuckled lightly, glancing at Willow as he said, "But it looks like you two were doing fine before. Are you really ready to leave George?" Willow scoffed and said, "He's nothing but a stray dog now. What's there to miss? We were meant to be together, but my dad forced me into a marriage. I picked him because I saw how much he was willing to lick my boots. In my heart, no one matters except you." With that, Willow moved closer to Makoto, almost kissing him. The sight tore at my heart. My anger was overshadowed by the overwhelming sense of disappointment. She nestled in Makoto's arms, her tone soft and coaxing as she said, "Makoto, do you still want me? If you do, I'll break up with him right now." As they exchanged flirtatious looks, the crowd began to cheer and jeer. Makoto seemed to enjoy the attention, a smirk spreading across his face as he raised an eyebrow and said, "Sure." He pulled Willow closer, taking out his phone and handing it to her. Their gazes were locked, and their movements were intimate. Willow, in front of him, dialed my number, and my phone began to ring outside the door. All eyes turned to me. "Ito." Someone called out instinctively, but was immediately interrupted by another voice. "Don't call him Ito anymore. He's been kicked out of the house." When I walked in, Willow looked flustered and said, "George, when did you arrive?" I felt a bitter sting and replied with cold disappointment, "If I didn't come, how would I know that my fiancée had become someone else's?" Willow's lips parted as if to explain, but in the end, she just gave me a look filled with complexity. Makoto looked at me with a mischievous glint in his eyes and lowered his head to speak to Willow. "Willow, I don't want anyone else in your heart. Do you understand what I mean?" Willow hesitated, but Makoto's gentle gaze seemed to encourage her. She glanced at me, picked up a bottle of red wine from the table, and poured it all over my head. In that moment, I felt like a defeated soldier, a wreck of my former self. She said, "George, I've always loved Makoto. You were just a fool who clung to his identity for over 20 years. Now that he's returned to the Ito family, you're nothing but a stray dog. We're no longer in the same world, so the wedding is cancelled." The wine kept dripping down my face as Willow looked at me coldly. I thought back to the days when we first got engaged, when we talked about the future with so much hope and anticipation. But now, the longing I saw in her eyes had been replaced with indifference, and my once passionate heart felt like it had fallen into an icy abyss. All the years I had devoted myself to her, were they just out of sheer convenience in her eyes? The power of the unforgettable first love was that all it had to do was stand there, doing nothing, and already it had won, hadn't it? Makoto grinned in smug satisfaction as he watched my miserable state. He said, "Get out of here. Don't show up in front of me again. Just seeing you annoys me." Ignoring Makoto's provocation, I locked my gaze on Willow. At that moment, all the noise around us ceased, and the world fell silent. I closed my eyes and wiped the wine from my face. Time seemed to freeze for that brief moment. When I opened my eyes again, Willow instinctively took a step back, but in the next instant, I grabbed her by the back of her head with my left hand, my right hand tracing the outline of her face as I pressed my palm, drenched in wine, to her cheek. Willow's eyes widened with shock and fear, but she let me slowly wipe my hand clean. This materialistic woman wasn't worth keeping. I shoved her away, wiping away the emotions I had harbored for so many years. The crowd stood frozen, unsure of how to react. I turned and walked away, my tone calm as I said, "I hope you two never regret this." By the time they regained their senses, shouts and curses followed me, but I was already far gone. Outside the bar, I took off the engagement ring and tossed it into the drain. Not a shred of regret in my heart. It was like throwing away a rotting, foul relationship. Chapter 2. Makoto was Willow's unforgettable first love. At first, they were indeed a couple, and I came into the picture much later. The three of us attended the same university. At that time, Makoto, who hadn't yet returned to the Ito family, went by the name Ken. He was a well-known poor student on campus. He became famous because of his outstanding looks and academic excellence. He was both the campus heartthrob and a genius student, and the person he despised the most was me. On more than one occasion, he mocked me as a useless rich kid with no ambition, berating me for not living in the dorms like the others, but buying a house off campus, living in luxury with no sense of hardship. I retorted that there was no need for me to force myself into hardship. We were like fire and water, and the university forums even became a battleground where our supporters clashed. But this battle ended with my defeat. At that time, I had fallen head over heels for Willow. I pursued her for 2.5 years, but she rejected me the whole time. Still, I never gave up because once I set my mind on something, I'd fight for it relentlessly. Eventually, she began to soften, even taking my hand on the day before Valentine's Day, just when I thought she was finally going to agree to be with me. Makoto, back then still known as Ken, confessed his feelings to her, and she accepted him without hesitation. The top post on the school forum now read, "The rich young master's unrequited love, while the poor genius wins the girl's heart." This marked the end of the feud between Makoto and me. After they got together, I gracefully withdrew and never bothered Willow again. I thought our fate had ended there. But 3 years later, we were set up as marriage candidates by our families. The Liu family places great importance on social standing and would never approve of Ken, who came from a poor background, so they repeatedly tried to stop their relationship. In the end, they were indeed forced to part ways. Otherwise, Willow wouldn't have been at this matchmaking event. When we met, both of us were surprised. We hadn't expected to see each other. I knew she still couldn't let go of Ken, but when she suggested we give it a try, I couldn't help but agree. After all, I had never stopped thinking about her all these years. I believed that with my sincerity and earnestness, I could win her heart and become the only man in her life. After we started dating, things went more smoothly than I expected. Like any couple, we had both affection and arguments. Soon, we were talking about marriage, but just then, my adoptive father brought Ken back to the Ito family, claiming that he was his real son. It was then that I learned I had been adopted. The true heir had returned to the wealthy family, and I, the fake heir, was immediately kicked out. Ken, the poor boy, transformed into the wealthy Makoto. An unforgettable first love returned to claim Willow without hesitation, abandoning me in the process. Willow's actions crushed me completely. From the beginning, her heart had always belonged to Makoto. All the affection she had shown me was just for show. She had never truly tried to accept me. As for my adoptive father, who had rarely shown me any affection, after bringing back his biological son, he wore a joyful expression that couldn't be hidden. He kicked me out of the house, not allowing me to take a single thing with me except the clothes on my back. At Makoto and Willow's engagement party, he made me publicly announce that I was leaving the Ito family voluntarily and wouldn't take a single penny. My adoptive father was a shrewd businessman. After all, he made sure everyone knew that while the Ito family had found their real son, they had also treated their adopted son well. It was all because I had wanted to return to my biological parents, and for that, I was willing to leave empty-handed. He had tried to keep me, but when I insisted on leaving, he had no choice but to let me go. The kindness he showed me over 20 years ultimately gave the Ito family a good reputation. It was merely a change of identity, but it caused everyone around me to abandon me, making me see the true faces of many people. In that case, I decided to return everything from those 20 years, including the Ito family name. What no one knew was that, after their grand engagement party, I had actually found my real biological parents. My name is George. I am the only son of Wang, the wealthiest family in the South Province. Chapter 3. Before returning to the Wang family, I still had things to take care of. After graduation, while managing the Ito family business, I also worked with my classmates to develop a new patented technology. This patent was originally going to be used for a new product that Ito family was going to launch, and it was the core technology of the entire product. But now, there's no need for that anymore, so we decided to sell it instead. My father fully supported my decision and told me to ask for anything I needed. Once everything was settled, he promised to formally bring me back into the Wang family with great fanfare. Before that, to make up for everything, my father not only gave me tens of billions, but also gifted me several properties worth over $1 billion each. He said these were just meeting gifts and that everything would be mine once I returned to the Wang family. Everything I own now is far more than what I had in the Ito family. After I had moved into my new place, I received a message from my classmate, who told me they had found a buyer. We arranged to meet at a cafe an hour later, so I gathered the documents and headed to the location with my classmate. When I arrived, I was shocked to find out that the buyer was Makoto. He was just as surprised to see me. His eyes couldn't hide the jealousy as he gritted his teeth and said, "This patent was actually developed by someone like you." I didn't bother giving Makoto a pleasant response. I coldly replied, "What's wrong with someone like me? Someone like me not only developed the patent, but I can also choose not to sell it to someone like you. What can you do about that?" I glanced at Willow, who was standing beside Makoto with a clueless expression, before turning and leaving the cafe with my classmate. But just as I stepped out, Willow actually ran up behind me. She said, "Ito, wait a second." Willow stopped me and, with an air of authority, ordered, "Makoto just returned to the Ito family, and the new product must not fail. This patent is crucial to him, just sell it to him." The moment I heard the surname Ito, I felt disgusted, but what was even worse was Willow, acting all high and mighty in front of me. I smirked. "In that case, I definitely won't sell it." Willow snapped, How can you be like this?" Willow stomped her foot in frustration, but was helpless. Maybe because I had always gone along with her in the past. She didn't expect that I would actually reject her request. Just as I was about to walk past her, Makoto came out as well, hands in his pockets. He arrogantly said, "All right, enough pretending. You just want the money, don't you? Look, I'm feeling generous. I'll add 5% more to the original price. Just consider it a reward for you." Willow echoed him. "You've hit the jackpot, and you still haven't thanked Makoto." I chuckled. "Thank him, he's the one begging me to sell, but I'm not selling. And not only am I not selling, but I'm really curious to see how Makoto will hold his ground in the Ito family without this patent." Makoto, who had been full of pride just moments ago, suddenly went pale with rage. He gritted his teeth and spat. "You really think you're special? Huh? You're just a stray dog now, and you're still being so stubborn." Willow looked at me with disdain, her voice dripping with sarcasm as she said, "I know you've lost everything, and you're upset, but there's no need to punish yourself like this, right? Makoto's willing to buy your patent is already giving you face. If you're not in a hurry to sell, why even show up here?" I gave them both a disgusted look and sneered. "A lose-lose is better than a one-sided win. If you two aren't happy, then that's my satisfaction. The reason I'm here is to sell this patent to a company that can take your cake, but if I'd known it was you two, I wouldn't have wasted my time coming here." Chapter 4. After getting into the car, my classmate quickly apologized. Damn it, when they contacted me, they used a fake name. If I had known it was them, I would have never agreed. My classmate and I have a good relationship. Even after I was kicked out of the Ito family, he still stood by my side. I waved my hand dismissively. "It's fine, don't take it to heart." Just as we were chatting, I received a message from Makoto. He said, "You're just a dog that got thrown out, and you still dare to bark in front of me. I hope you can keep up this bravado. Don't come crying to me later when you beg me to buy your worthless patent." Reading his arrogant message, I couldn't help but think, is this what it means to be a nouveau riche? He's been manipulated, yet all he can do is spew threats. When he was still a poor boy, he never dared to speak so arrogantly to others. My classmate saw the message and couldn't help but laugh, saying, "This guy got more confident after returning to the Ito family. It's hard to believe he's the same person." But soon after, I received a call from my adoptive father. He said, "Give your patent to Makoto." He said it so matter-of-factly, as though I was born to serve the Ito family. I replied indifferently, "What if I don't?" There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then he growled, "Don't forget, I gave you more than 20 years of a luxurious life. You really have no conscience, do you?" I didn't want to make things ugly, but hearing that, I couldn't hold back my anger. I sneered and said, "If I have no conscience, then who was it that shouldered the entire crisis when the Ito family was in trouble, and even helped increase the Ito family's assets by several times? The results of my hard work, and in the end, everything went into your son's hands. The engagement party of Makoto and Willow, the drama you made me play there. I've already repaid every favor from these past years." I lowered my voice. "Mr. Ito, do you think you can control me for the rest of my life with this one sentence? Moral blackmail won't work on me. If necessary, I can throw morality out the window." On the other end, he sighed helplessly, and his tone softened. "George, I've been your father for more than 20 years. Can you do me a favor?" When he wanted my help, suddenly he wanted to appeal to emotion. But when he kicked me out of the Ito family, there wasn't an ounce of softness. I sneered. "For more than 20 years, you never once fulfilled the role of a father. Also, have you forgotten? The day you kicked me out of the Ito family, you didn't even leave me a single penny. Now you're using the emotional appeal." I paused and added, "By the way, I now go by Wang, and my name is George." With that, I hung up the phone and blocked all contact with the Ito family and Willow. Makoto's confidence came from the Ito family. He thought that if his father came to beg me, I would hand over the patent out of gratitude for all they had done. Unfortunately, I'm not the soft-hearted type. More importantly, I no longer owe the Ito family anything. After dropping my classmate off at his place, I drove back to my villa. This villa is far more luxurious than the Ito family's. But just as I finished a hot shower and was about to get some rest, I received a message from my classmate, telling me that I was being maliciously slandered online. I quickly opened my phone, and sure enough, Willow had posted an article on her account with over 1 million followers, defaming me. Chapter 5. Willow had been active on the internet since college, going from a fashion blogger to a beauty influencer. In just a few years, she had amassed over 2 million followers. She wrote, Makoto, the young master of the Ito family, wanted to buy my patent, but because I wanted to get back at them, I raised the price to 10 times its original value. She also claimed that I had been jealous of Makoto since college, and had often used my resources to suppress him, even resorting to dirty tricks. After her long-winded slander, she made sure to state that she had invested $1 million in Makoto's project on behalf of the Liu family. Willow's million-strong following immediately propelled her post into the top 10 trending topics. With the Ito family chairman's endorsement and confirmation, the online opinion turned overwhelmingly against me, with everyone hurling insults. Netizens commented, "Is this even human? If it weren't for the Ito family's support all these years, would he even be alive? I've seen greedy people, but never someone who raises the price by 10 times. He must be out of his mind for money." Others said, "I can't believe he's such scum. Makes me regret supporting Willow and the Ito family. Garbage like him deserves to rot in a trash heap." Some even commented, "I bet all that I voluntarily left the Ito family was just a show. He's probably scheming something bad now that he's so desperate for money." I scrolled through the comments indifferently, seeing many comments that were far worse. It's clear that many people don't care about the truth, only about having a place to vent their emotions. Just then, my phone rang, an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment before answering. On the other end, Willow's voice came through sharply. She said, "George, you actually blocked my number. Are you too afraid to face me?" I calmly asked, "What is it?" She responded, "I'm sure you've seen the online drama. I'm giving you a chance now. Sell the patent to Makoto at a discount, and publicly apologize to him. Then I'll help clear your name and delete that post. This will all be over." Willow still spoke in a high-handed tone, as if she had completely cornered me. I rubbed my temples, listening to my former lover standing firmly on the opposite side, protecting her new beau so gently. I couldn't help but reflect on how unlucky I was to have such a partner back then. How foolish of her to make this call now. "So," I said, "all these years, my wholehearted effort for you just to be met with your malicious defamation. You really want to go this far? How about clarifying the truth for me instead?" Hearing me weaken, Willow's tone became even more dismissive. She said, "Don't bring up the past. Your one-sided love for me only made me sick. I've always liked Makoto. If it weren't for you, I would have been with him already. You deserve this. I advise you to sell the patent to us quickly, or I fear you won't be able to handle the online backlash. Don't blame me if you end up jumping off a building." I smirked. Some people just can't be reasoned with. That was the end of it. There was nothing more to say. I deliberately provoked her, saying, "You think you can keep trending for a day? Do you think you can stay on the trending list forever? After a few days, who will even remember these lies? I'm not responding, and the situation will blow over. I'm not selling. So what are you going to do about it?" Before she could respond, I hung up the phone. As expected, the online outrage continued to escalate under malicious guidance. My father was furious. He told me the Wang Group's PR team had already prepared a countermeasure, ready to strike back at any moment. I knew that was the fastest way, but the timing wasn't right. I needed to handle it myself and fan the flames a little more. My classmate helped me reach out to some of his friends in the media who knew I was being slandered and wanted to help me fight back. I looked at them gratefully. Ever since I was kicked out of the Ito family, almost everyone had kept their distance from me. I said, "Thank you all for your concern. I have a plan." My classmate excitedly asked, "What's the plan? Can we help?" I chuckled softly and said, "I have recordings of that conversation and the phone call. True to form, you've already recorded it. Play the recordings now, and my friends can help you fight a perfect counterattack." I stirred my coffee, thinking like a strategist. No need to rush. The timing isn't quite right yet. Let them fly higher first. When they fall, they'll shatter into pieces. Chapter 6. In order to keep Willow's online drama escalating, I worked hard every day. I would send her messages, mixing pity with pleas, but every time she mentioned me selling her the patent, I would firmly say no. The cycle repeated itself every day, each time making her more furious. Watching the public opinion online intensify made me feel excited. In just a few days, Willow had gained millions of followers. Ito sure also benefited from the sympathy, and the company's stocks went up, securing more deals for them. I hadn't expected that their defamation would bring them so many benefits. As I watched them bask in their success, I knew my time was approaching. Ito sure had been trying to acquire a piece of land in Beijing for a long time, and recently, through Wang Group, I had leaked news that we were planning to establish a large shopping center and a film set in the East District of Beijing. Now, the auction for the land was finally underway. When I arrived at the auction in a suit, Makoto and Willow walked towards me, their faces full of disbelief. Makoto looked me up and down and sneered. Not bad. You dress like you're someone important. But this place isn't for just anyone. You'd better leave before the security kicks you out. I couldn't help but laugh. If someone like you can get in. It seems the security here isn't up to par. Makoto, red with anger, was about to respond, but I had already turned and headed to my seat. As if in a fit of spite, Makoto sat down next to me. He leaned in and, in a mocking tone, whispered, "Hey, useless. I didn't think you'd still be alive after getting kicked out, but here you are, at the auction. You're probably just here to sell your broken patent. Guess you regret being so arrogant back then, don't you?" He kept muttering insults in my ear, but I paid him no attention. Maybe because he was so frustrated. He bid 1 billion as soon as the auction began. His bold move caught everyone's attention. Maybe he thought such a number would scare me into backing down. He turned to me with a smug grin, but I ignored him and quietly raised my paddle to bid 1 million more. The auction had a rule that required a minimum increase of 1 million for each bid. Makoto hesitated for a moment, then, unwilling to lose face, bid 10 million more. But no matter how much he bid, I would always raise my offer by 1 million. At first, other business owners participated, but as the bids climbed higher, they all backed out. In the end, it was just Makoto and me, continuing to bid like a childish rivalry. Soon, the bid had reached 350 million. Makoto was already trembling with rage, and despite Willow's attempts to calm him down, nothing worked. His eyes flashed with hostility as he said, "This is all the money you can scrape together. Selling your patent, but you're still trying to compete with me over this land. You think you can develop it with no money? Who do you think you are, trying to compete with me for this?" Makoto raised his paddle and yelled, 10 billion. The room fell silent. Whispers spread among the crowd. Despite his boastful offer, I knew exactly what was going on. Itoshire had set a limit of 4 billion for buying land, so I had no intention of continuing to bid. But unexpectedly, Makoto had gone beyond that limit himself. Without me even pushing him, he jumped straight into the trap. He and Willow were a perfect pair. Both of them were clueless. The auctioneer's gavel came down, signaling the end of the auction. Makoto, full of himself, looked around like the center of attention, as if he were the winner. But I smiled subtly. I knew the real winner was yet to come. Chapter 7. As soon as the auction ended, I sent out a long post as my counterattack. In it, I explained my relationship with Willow and Makoto, and I published all the recordings of our conversations, including the ones where my adoptive father told me to leave Itoshire's house and gave me no money, showing that it was all part of their scheme to take everything from me. Thanks to the help of my friends in the media and the public relations team at Wang, the post quickly went viral. In less than half an hour, public opinion had completely flipped. With undeniable evidence, Willow's slanders quickly fell apart, and the public turned their anger toward her and Itoshire. The backlash was intense. The comments came pouring in. Disgusting. Not only did they kick him out, but now they're trying to steal his patent and manipulating public opinion to destroy him. This adoptive son was treated terribly. He was left with nothing, and they still wanted to humiliate him. The worst part is Willow. She was playing him all along. When her old flame came back, she immediately jumped into bed with Makoto. It's obvious who the real dog is now. Itoshire, the father, is a traitor. When Itoshire was in crisis, he abandoned everything and left his adoptive son to deal with it alone. In the end, he gave all the credit to his biological son and kicked out the adopted son. Makoto is a fool, like a nouveau riche. He's nothing but trash. But now he thinks he's some kind of high and mighty CEO. Within hours, Willow lost all her sponsorships, and her breach of contract penalties amounted to over 100 million. Itoshire also faced a series of cancelled deals. Not only were they losing the new partnerships gained through defaming me, but many of their old contracts were being dissolved as well. Facing the numerous claims for breach of contract, Itoshire's finances, which were barely holding up, took another blow. But Makoto, in his bid to show off, had spent 10 billion on that plot of land. All the money was gone in one fell swoop. Not long after, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. Willow's frantic voice came through. "George, what you did, you're ruining Makoto's life. Please, just post something to clear things up. Do it for me. For all the years we've known each other." I laughed with disdain. "Now that you need something from me, you start bringing up the past. Well, let me tell you, those memories mean nothing now. While you were leading the public opinion against me, did my pleas ever get any sympathy from you?" There was silence on the other end, and I could hear her breathing fast. "No, wait. If you do this for me, I'll repay you. I'll stay with you for a night, like we used to. What do you think?" The laugh that escaped me was involuntary. Did she really think that after everything, I would still want anything to do with her? Was she that delusional? You really don't get it, do you? You're so cheap and have no dignity. You actually repulse me. Get lost. I hung up the phone without waiting for a response and blocked her number. No sooner had I done so than the phone rang again. Chapter 8. George, you're out of your mind. My adoptive father's frantic voice came through the phone. Clarify everything online immediately. Itoshire's stocks are plummeting, and you need to find a way to cover those penalties. The audacity. I chuckled. What does that have to do with me? He nearly yelled back. This is all your mess. If you don't take responsibility, who will? Don't forget, I raised you for over 20 years, I replied. This is the same old story. I've repaid my debts to you, and moral blackmail doesn't work on me. My adoptive father coughed several times, and his tone softened a little. So you're just going to watch Itoshire fall? Have you forgotten how much you worked for Itoshire? I fell silent for a moment, then smirked. My hard work was just to be used as someone else's bargaining chip. Besides, I've already stopped using the Ito surname. Whether Itoshire rises or falls is none of my concern. He started threatening me. Fine, you won't listen to reason, right? Even though I'm in crisis now, I could still easily destroy you. Just wait. Oh, I responded indifferently and hung up the phone. I couldn't believe how they just kept exposing themselves, one fool after another. I immediately uploaded the recording online and reported the matter to the police. It didn't take long for the police to question him, and the online backlash was even worse. Itoshire, already on the edge, was now on the verge of collapsing. From then on, I blocked all unfamiliar numbers. I didn't need to guess who was calling. Later, I received a text message claiming to be from Makoto, asking to meet. Curious about what kind of game he was trying to play, I agreed to meet, in a quiet tea house on the outskirts. I met Makoto. His face was haggard, and he looked 10 years older than before. No wonder he chose such a secluded place. He was now a public enemy, hated by everyone. He said, "You must have known that land couldn't be developed in the short term. Now you can't even flip it for a profit. George, do you really have to be so ruthless? Ito's family raised you for 20 years, and this is how you repay us." Makoto glared at me with clenched fists on the table. I remained unfazed, casually replying with a smile. "You probably don't know. Even if the land could be developed, you still wouldn't be able to flip it, because the information I gave you about the shopping center and film set was all fake." Makoto stood up, furious, as if he was going to take a swing at me. I laughed. "What? Are you angry?" I waved my hand downwards and said, "I know you're frustrated, but hold on. Why can't you stay calm for once? What's your plan here? Trying to solve things with violence? Let's talk business." Hearing this, he took a deep breath and sat back down. Makoto gritted his teeth and said, "I'm giving you an offer you can't refuse. 10 billion, and I'll give Willow to you. How about it?" "What?" I almost couldn't believe my ears. He continued, "I lost. So Willow is completely yours. I just want 10 billion. Makoto seemed to think he had me cornered, a gleam of triumph in his eyes. 10 billion for your most beloved woman. Not a bad deal, right? I stared at him as if he were a fool. Where did he get the nerve to say such disgusting things? But I still asked, "Aren't you in love with Willow?" Makoto burst out laughing, as though I had told the funniest joke. "In love with her? I'm just using her. If I hadn't seen you always chasing after her, I wouldn't even have bothered looking at this pampered rich girl. I confessed to her just to show you rich second-generation heirs that you can never beat me if you just look at ability." Later, I thought I could use her to cross classes, but her old man came to me and begged me to break up with her. I demanded 5 million before I agreed to leave that stupid woman. Willow. When I returned to Itoshire, she was the one chasing me, telling me she was waiting for me. She thought I felt the same, but I'd already gone through how many women by then. I agreed to marry her because she's the only daughter of the Liu family. Once I inherit her property, I'll have it made. When Itoshire got into trouble, I tried to get money from her, but her father refused. So, I had to make a deal with you. How about it? 10 billion, and I'll deliver her to you right away. Chapter 9. After hearing his words, I was dumbfounded. I stood up and said, "Sorry, I have to leave." Just as I was about to walk away, Makoto quickly called out, "What do you mean?" I replied, "I think it's pretty clear, the deal's off." Makoto was shocked. "Aren't you obsessed with Willow?" I rubbed my temples, looking at him in disbelief. "What? Why would I want Willow, that used-up woman, for 10 billion? Are you inflating her value like this?" Makoto said, "If you don't agree, we can negotiate." I responded dryly, "Keep her for yourself. Then, after all, I'm not like you. I don't enjoy wearing a green hat." After getting rid of Makoto, just a few days later, I ran into Willow. Lately, they had been like persistent ghosts, refusing to leave me alone. At my regular coffee shop, Willow was waiting for me. The online backlash had taken its toll on her, and even though she wore delicate makeup, it couldn't hide her haggard look. She said, "George, please help Makoto. I'm begging you. I glanced at her coldly and was about to leave, but suddenly, she kneeled in front of me, her eyes red, and said, "Isn't this what you wanted? You want me to bow to you, don't you? This mess all started because of you. I can forgive you, but please help him. I don't want to watch his life fall apart." I never expected that the once high and mighty daughter of the Liu family would kneel to me for Makoto. She didn't forget to try to manipulate me with moral guilt, just like my shameless adoptive father. I was about to curse her out when I saw Makoto rush in and pull Willow up from the ground. He said with righteous indignation, "Willow, don't kneel to this kind of person. Even if I can't make it, as long as I have you, my life will still be worth it." Willow was moved to tears by his words, gazing at him for a long time, as if making a decision. She then said resolutely, "Makoto, I've decided to sell my grandfather's car, house, and company shares to pay your penalties." Makoto was also moved to tears, pulling Willow into a tight hug. I knew why Makoto was suddenly acting so noble and affectionate. Willow's grandfather had died, and now he was after her inheritance. He said, "Willow, I will never forget your kindness. You are the priceless treasure in my heart." But before he could finish his sentence, I played the recording from that day. 10 billion, and Willow is yours. Their expressions changed drastically, especially Makoto, whose face turned as dark as the bottom of a pot. Makoto furrowed his brows and asked, "How do you have that recording?" I replied dryly, "Makoto, when will you learn? How many times have you all fallen for recordings? You don't deserve a new trick from me." I waved the recorder in my hand. "I'm recording right now, you know." Makoto gritted his teeth and hissed, "You bastard." He lunged at me to grab the recorder, but Willow slapped him hard across the face. Willow shouted, "You're the real bastard. I can't believe I trusted you. We're breaking up. This time, no one can save you." With her eyes red, Willow stormed off. Makoto shot me a furious glare before rushing after her. Watching them fight like dogs made me feel a surge of satisfaction. Dealing with fools like them, having the recorder ready at all times was definitely the right choice. Unable to cover the breach of contract penalties, my adoptive father sold Itoshire, though some of Itoshire's original partners and clients, out of years of loyalty, didn't abandon them. My father had always despised the Ito family. He couldn't resist taking action. Once he did, the remaining partners immediately cancelled their contracts. Itoshire collapsed overnight, and Wang Group was the one that acquired it. On the day of the acquisition contract signing, my father asked me to go in person. When I arrived, the chairman of Itoshire, his hair now mostly gray and looking 10 years older, looked at me with a sudden gleam of hope in his eyes. He said, "George, you're here. Are you finally willing to help me, Dad?" I calmly sat in the chairman's seat and said, "I think I should remind you, Ito, that my last name is Wang, George Wang. I'm here representing Wang Group to sign the contract." He was stunned. You're the heir of Wang Groups. Chapter 10. He asked despondently. Really no room for negotiation. Chairman Ito looked at me with pleading eyes, his voice hoarse. "I know I was tough on you all these years, but I really treated you like my own son. You see, I handed over Itoshire to you early on, didn't I? Isn't that clearly making you the heir? I never thought I'd bring Makoto back. Can you understand that I'm a first-time father? Can you forgive my shortcomings?" I sneered and mocked him. "Oh, Chairman Ito, are you still joking with me? Didn't you bring Makoto back 3 years ago?" Chairman Ito froze, his voice trembling. You know," I said. "What you called handing Itoshire over to me was actually just pushing me to the front when Itoshire was in crisis. While I was exhausted, struggling to save the company, you were abroad, eating, drinking, and enjoying life with Makoto, buying him luxury cars and watches, because you didn't want him to suffer. Once I saved Itoshire, you immediately brought him home to take all the credit for my hard work." I looked at him with a cold smile. "See, you're really good at being a dad." He was sweating profusely, his gaze unfocused. Clearly, he hadn't expected me to know about all this, but all this was easily accessible to my father, who had done a thorough investigation. "Sorry." Chairman Ito lowered his head, looking guilty and disoriented. I said, "Sign the contract." When I left his office with the signed contract, he looked like a feeble old man, his once dignified presence completely gone. After getting rid of everything related to the Ito family, I felt a long-lost sense of relief. I was about to pack for a trip to clear my mind when I saw Willow lurking around. Somehow, she had found out where I was living and came to look for me. When she saw me coming out, she hurriedly rushed up to me, her eyes red. "George, I was blind before. I misjudged people, and I didn't cherish someone as good as you. I've just realized that you're the one who loves me the most. Can you give me another chance?" She quickly raised her hand to show me the engagement ring I had given her. She said, "Look, I've found our engagement ring. I've already divorced Makoto. Let's get back together." I looked at her coldly and said, "Miss Liu, you're being delusional. What makes you think I would want you again?" She froze for a moment, her voice choked with tears. "George, I know I made mistakes, but I've completely changed. How can you just let go of all these years of love so easily? I sneered. You think I'm letting go so easily? Let me ask you, what mistakes have you made? How have you changed? Getting a divorce and wearing a broken engagement ring doesn't count as change. You've changed so easily, haven't you? Miss Liu, you didn't realize your mistake. You just realized that the Liu family is about to collapse and you're going to end up a stray dog. I didn't believe a word of Willow's, and I was sure she was here now because the Liu group was on the brink of bankruptcy. I looked at her coldly and continued, Willow, you're just a stray dog now. We're no longer from the same world. Don't show up in front of me again. Just the sight of you disgusts me. She choked back a sob. Please, don't be so cruel to me. George, you can't be like this. You still love me, don't you? Willow screamed desperately, but I turned and got into my car, signaling the bodyguard to drive her away. During my trip, I heard about their recent circumstances. In order to maintain the Liu Group's current state, Chairman Liu had to marry Willow off to another businessman, a man nearly 50 years old. As for Itoshi's father and son, after paying off the penalties, they declared bankruptcy and moved into the city's slums, the very place they had once looked down on. Lazy Makoto spent his days at home, muttering to himself like a fool. His father, desperate for work at his old age, finally had to swallow his pride and took a job as a security guard, earning less than 2,800 a month. From luxury to poverty, it was a bitter pill for the father and son, accustomed to the high life, but all this was their own doing, and I had no emotional reaction to it. After returning from my trip, I joined Wang's group and slowly began taking over the company. In my free time, I traveled the world with my parents, enjoying life and living happily.